Dumela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Ekaston, Buenos dias, bonjour, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. This is episode 10 of season 4. This is Doriel and his Larrier of the Doriel Larrier Show, and this series is Politics and the People. This afternoon, we are having the blessed opportunity of talking to someone who literally is running for our lives. Let's chat today with Sister Abayomi Ajaiyeoba Whint. She is on the ballot, and we're going to talk to her about what it is, what she's going to do, and how she got there. Please welcome Sister Abayomi Ajaiyeoba Whint.
Greetings, everyone, and thanks for putting Ikasa in there.
Thank you. We do our best. That will be an official addition to the greeting for the show, of course. We thank you so much, Sister Abayomi. So everyone, this is Abayomi Ajaiyeoba Whint. She is actually a former classmate of mine. We actually went to college together, and I'm so blessed and thankful that she was able to take a time out of this very, very busy week and weekend because she's doing something quite special. And some of you may have actually seen her name on a little slip of paper that's very important to us. And if you haven't, here's the opportunity and the moment that you can get a little chance to maybe ask her a question or even drop a comment if you're watching this live or on the replay and see, what it is that this role does and how it's very important to our society. So, Sister Abayomi, thank you very much for coming, and let's get into this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is definitely an exciting time. So before I talk about just being on the ballot, which, as you mentioned, it is important, judges make decisions that can either uplift or undermine justice. And it's important that justice is uplifted because the decisions that judges make impact the social fabric of our daily lives. And how I got here, I've been an attorney now for 20 years, a little over 20 years. I just celebrated my law school 20-year law school reunion. So that was exciting. Can't believe how much time has gone by. And during that 20 years, I've been involved in so many different roles. My first job out of law school, I worked as an assistant corporation counsel with the city's law department. So the city's law department is basically the attorney for the city, any of its agencies. So we handle all those cases anytime the city gets sued. I was in the administrative law division, and I was there for about 3 years. And after that, I went into private practice. I worked for a real estate litigation firm that specialized in co-op condo law. And I also got involved with equal employment opportunity challenges, reasonable accommodations, all the things that can happen within a co-op and condo. After that, I got impacted by the downturn, but that didn't stop me because, and when I'm looking at all these experiences that I'm sharing with you, these are the seeds that were planted to actually get me to where I'm at. So now, impacted by the downturn, but that didn't impact me because I said, you know what, that means that I just have to shift. I have to strategize. And now I started practicing on my own. I started doing a lot of bankruptcy cases. I handle foreclosure cases, tort matters, which are personal injuries for other attorneys. And I did that for a couple of years. And as I was doing that, I then became a per diem administrative law judge, also known as a hearing officer with the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. And within 11 months, I was promoted to deputy managing attorney. I was also the EEO counselor. And then after being with Oath for about, 2010, I was a per diem. 2011, promoted to deputy managing attorney. And then 2017, I went to the fire department. And yes, the fire department does have attorneys, because oftentimes when I tell people that I work as an attorney with the fire department, they're a little surprised. But I've been there for about 7 years. And also within that period of time, in terms of me becoming an attorney, I was an arbitrator for over 10 years, which is very important, particularly if you want to become a judge. It's great that you have, litigation experience. As we know, there are different kinds of lawyers. lawyers that do closings. They're lawyers that, may not go in the courtroom. They deal with paper, they deal with contracts. But if you want to become an attorney, a judge, it's important that you also, consider becoming an arbitrator. And I did that for over 10 years. And what an arbitrator does is they handle cases in small claims court, which I often call the people's court. And in the people's court, if a judge gets backlogged, they have parties have an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to have an attorney that's trained to hear the case, and
Okay.
have that case come before them. So we conduct, as though you would conduct any kind of hearing, any kind of trial. Parties get to present their evidence. So I did that over 10 years. I also heard claims as a part one 137, arbitrator. So when clients got into disputes with their attorneys over attorney fees, I would also engage in that.
Okay,
Um,
wait. So that means you had to sort of step outside of your role of being an attorney and be unbiased because a client has an issue with their attorney.
So yeah, and I'm still, wearing the hat of attorney, but I have to be, unbiased, because as an attorney myself, here it is, you have a client challenging someone's fee. So as an attorney looking at this as an arbitrator, I have to look at, okay, well, how many hours did they spend on this, and was that, sufficient for the kind of claim that was brought? So looking at all of that, and I was part of a panel of maybe 3 people that did that. And in addition to all those experiences, I also, I used to joke and call myself a bar junkie, not bar like drinking bar, but the bar meaning Association of Attorneys. So I was president of the Nigerian Lawyers Association for 2 years. I was the first one to hold the position for 2 years. And while at the Nigerian Lawyers Association, I held other positions before becoming president. One thing that I really take pride in during my tenure is that the Nigerian Lawyers Association, also called NLA, we received a recognition for our pro bono clinics during my tenure.
Oh,
Because
nice.
one thing we would do, we would go to the community, conduct legal clinics just in different areas, give attorneys an opportunity to consult with people in the community, and give them just advice on how to proceed in certain matters, and then they'll determine whether they would take next steps. I've been involved with the Association of Black Women Attorneys, held a lot of positions also within that organization as well. I'm with the Metropolitan Black Bar Association. One exciting thing that I want to
What
definitely
do you not
mention.
do?
Oh yeah, about the Metropolitan Black Bar Association. There's a pipeline program, the Judicial Training Academy, for attorneys who are considering becoming judge. So now judges, they take part in the program, give us advice, and particularly since the process involves a lengthy application process and a vetting process. So
Okay.
the Judicial Training Academy now, I think, has graduated at least 7 individuals who have become judges. And I started in the program, as a participant, and then I later co-chaired the committee, and now I'm about to head to the bench.
Wow.
And I could go on, but I've been involved in a lot of different
Like
different.
I said, what haven't you done? This is exciting. So actually, I'd like to just take a step back just to the last thing that you talked about. So part of doing this series is not just to highlight great things that people are doing in the community, of course, and just to spotlight inspirational leaders, because this show is all about allowing people to learn from something that someone does, let's say on one side of the street, so that they can live really well on their side of the street. But it's also to discuss the pipeline. Like, I said a few moments ago that we can't be what we can't see.
Mm,
And so, as there are people who are in our community who might see a younger person, or maybe not necessarily a youngster, but
mhm,
someone who is community minded, someone who
mhm,
is an advocate, someone who is an activist,
mhm,
someone who is an ally, and they say, "Hey, have you ever considered this type of work?" But they may not know what the pipeline is. They may not know what the steps are. And so you've definitely named, like, at least 9 or 10 or 12 different agencies that you literally have stepped into those rooms and
mhm,
you've participated in it and you supported. But the last thing that really struck me is
Mhm.
the pro bono work. And so, of course, shout out to the Nigerian Lawyers Association, because that is the community that you are born and
Mhm.
raised in, and that is the earth that you come from.
Mhm.
And so, for you to, of course, like give back
Mhm.
in our communities, it is part of our work, right? We're not only going to stand up
Mhm.
and move forward, but we're also going to bring the people who we have stepped in front of along with us, right? So you
Mhm.
have definitely a lot of opportunities that, of course, you come from a very strong family. I already know that. But there are things that maybe some of the community that you're from may not necessarily be aware of. So
Mhm.
for you to say that the organization takes time to step into its own nuclear space,
Mhm.
place and space, and
Mhm.
give voice, be an advocate, provide resources to, and then help them move that step ahead
Mhm.
is absolutely fabulous. So
Mhm.
now you're able to take this work, my presumption,
Mhm.
and bring all of those voices
Mhm.
to what you're going to do.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about what the civil court judge does. And for those people who are just joining us, again, if you're live on the replay, we're on a couple of different platforms. So I'm going to try to see where other people are. You
Mhm.
are for as a candidate for the Kings County Civil Court.
Yes.
I
Yes.
always tell everybody, I'm sorry, but the best borough is Brooklyn. The best borough is Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And so we're so proud that you are here as a queen in the King's Court. I just made that up.
I love it.
You can have that. You a queen in the King's Court, okay? So the
Oh
queen
my
is
gosh.
coming.
Yes.
Right. So tell us some of the things that a civil
Mhm.
court judge does. Like,
Mhm.
what would I need to either be or have done or have happened to me for
Mhm.
me to say, excuse
Oh
me,
yeah.
you to go to civil court?
So I guess I alluded to it generally in terms of, when I talk about what judges do. um, let's say you have a breach of contract claim. You had a contract that you entered into with someone violated the term of that contract. You could come to civil court and have a judge make a determination uh, as to who was the aggrieved party, and you take it from there. Also with respect to family matters. So, because my seat is civil court, but there's a chance that I may be in family court. So, family court, as we know, there are issues that people could come to family court with, whether it's revolving around custody disputes, whether it's revolving around well, it revolves around the best interest of the child, looking at parental involvement and the things that parents are doing in that regard. So those are some of the matters that will revolve around that visitation, um, things of that nature. So generally, it's just about a little bit of everything. But with civil court, the amount is restricted. At one point, it was 25,000. I now believe it's like $50,000. So that's one of the threshold considerations when you're looking at the different courts in terms of the monetary value. So civil court is about $50,000 in terms of the claims that you could bring. So you could even have a defamation claim. You could bring it in civil court.
Hmm.
Even when I was an arbitrator, there were a number of issues that came before me in civil court. Someone, wedding dress got damaged by the dry cleaners, so they brought a claim, revolving around that. There were challenges with auto repair, where the mechanic didn't do something, they did something negligent, so someone would bring a claim there. If you want to do a name change, you come to the civil court. Yes, yes, you do. But one thing I do want to mention, because as you can see, community service is a cornerstone of who I am. And I believe in this, in terms of the way I move, I believe in the ecosystem of justice. I look at the ecosystem in terms of each part has a role to play. And I come from also restorative justice, restorative practice background. Not only am I a trained arbitrator and mediator, I'm also a trained circle keeper. I just feel like people should be treated with dignity and respect. And that's where restorative justice comes in. When we hear restorative justice, we know that we're looking at, someone that was harmed, and then the person that offended the individual now has an opportunity. But also, we could look to restorative justice um, as a means of how we interact with one another, interactional justice, and also procedural justice. So when you come to a courtroom with a matter that happen outside of the courtroom, you should be able to proceed and get a sense of fairness. There should be transparency. There should be integrity in the process. These are things that are very important to me, and frames who I am, just in just everything that I do in daily living. And I love interacting with people. I love connecting with people. I love, it's about being human, taking a human centered approach because, again, there's certain dynamics that happen outside of the courtroom. And you don't want to invite more harm to the situation. You want to try to, help navigate the situation because emotions are already going to be high when
Right.
folks come to the courtroom. So with my training and with what's in my DNA, I want to, help mitigate that and, just address it with, just being a human first and foremost.
Well, it's very clear that in these days and times that a number of people have not felt heard, a number of people have not felt valued for a
Mm-hmm.
variety of reasons. People have
Mm-hmm.
their names have been dragged through the mud, their character has been, dragged out into the streets. The
Mm-hmm.
things that we would say growing up, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now everything is coming
Mm-hmm.
out. And
Mm-hmm.
so of course when you mention like the people's court or like the people's judge, and I'm thinking, and of course a number of people will be thinking, okay, are we talking Judge Mathis, Judge Judy, and all these other voices? I just know you are not going commercial, because if you are a part of restorative justice, we want to keep we
Yeah.
want the people's
And
business
and
dignified.
one thing
Okay.
I want to share actually, when I was a paralegal before I became a lawyer, I was a paralegal with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. I was also one of the first two paralegals with the Juvenile Rights Division Family. What was it? Yeah, Juvenile Rights Division with Legal Aid Society and Family Court. And during
Mhm.
that time, Judith Shilen, who, is known as Judge Judy, she was in the courtroom. She was in the courtroom. So I had an opportunity to be in the courtroom and be there with law guardians, helping with trying cases. And so, yeah, and I know the case that actually got her claim to fame. So, but that's a conversation for another day. It's not, but yeah, but it was great, firsthand to see firsthand, that courtroom and other courtrooms, and many other courtrooms, and just assess how I would want to proceed.
So I want to ask about, let's say, the aftermath of let's say a case. And so
Mm-hmm.
you bring a ruling to a case. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
say it's the wedding dress or like the mechanic, which I
Mm-hmm.
totally understand, or like the
Mm-hmm.
name change, or even if it has to do with a custody issue, custody matter for a child.
Mm-hmm.
When it doesn't go the way that
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to win,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
someone's not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
What type, because you're a circle keeper, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that work, and because
Mm-hmm.
you're a restorative justice
Mm-hmm.
leader, um, what is the conversation that you have? Like, I'm not really being facetious, but after
Mm-hmm.
the gavel has been struck
Oh
and a
yeah.
matter has been, you know,
Mm-hmm.
dispensed or addressed, and
Mm-hmm.
that person is still like, well, they don't feel vindicated. What kind of conversation
Mm-hmm.
do you have
Mm-hmm.
to let them know, yes, they have been heard,
Mm-hmm.
and you care? Because sometimes people, they get that, they hear that gavel and just like, oh wait, did I have
Mm-hmm.
to say at all? Like
Mm-hmm.
what what
Mm-hmm.
what now?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of conversations do you have
Mm-hmm.
with persons who may not, feel like justice was served for them?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because in my courtroom or just in how I proceed with things, we shouldn't get to that point where we're having that conversation at the end. And even when I was an administrative law judge with oath, even when when individuals knew that there was going to be an adverse result, they still left the courtroom smiling. They were fine because you have to manage expectations from the onset. You have to give people a sense that yes, I'm hearing you, I'm actively listening. And when you have all of those variables in place at the onset, even if there is an adverse result at the end, I think that that party will still be whole because okay, this person listened to me. They weighed everything. because and you should have a sense of that, like when you have that encounter that, okay, yes, I was heard. This person heard me. They took all my information down.
Right.
So I for me, I don't think that I should be having that conversation at the end. But to the extent that something like that happens, I would, just ensure that the party knows that, okay, well, this is the end result. You may not be happy with it.
Right.
However, there are, other ways that you could proceed if you don't agree with what I did, because I have the facts and all I can decide is what's in front of me. But if you don't feel like I properly apply the facts to the case, you have other options. You could challenge what I did.
Right.
So, and I think just hearing that, this is important.
Okay. So
Mhm.
last question is how many people, because you're running
Mhm.
for again the
Yes.
candidate for Kings County Civil Court. What
Mhm.
is the where do you sit? Meaning like
Mhm.
where is the office or where do civil court
Mhm.
judges,
Mhm.
where are they housed? Because some people may think it's now again, I'm talking Kings County.
Mhm.
Some people think it's what 345 Adams. Some people
Okay.
think
Okay.
it's like
Mhm.
where are the offices or like
Mhm.
where do those cases get heard?
Mhm.
And then how many civil court judges are there in Kings County? Like I don't know. I know that there are 7 on the ballot, but how many
Mhm.
are there in total?
Hmm. In terms of the totality, I couldn't address that. I don't know the number, but yes, as you mentioned, there's 7 on the ballot, um, and they sit at either family court, which is at 320 J Street.
Okay.
There's also civil court is 141 Livingston Street, and that's
Mm,
where the people's court is. That's 141 Livingston, and I just want to mention also that. My seat came about as a result of legislation that was enacted and signed by Governor Hochul. So this happened in July. I accepted the nomination July 28th. And the
wow.
governor wanted to make sure that the candidates were pulled from a qualified list. I was
Beautiful.
already on a qualified list. How did I get on that qualified list? As I mentioned before, there's a rigorous screening process. I actually used to screen judicial candidates and judges through the Kings County Judicial Screening Committee. So now I came before them twice. And I came before them twice because, let's say you decide you want to be a judge, right? And you go before the committee, right? And now they find you qualified. And so now you can go out, run your race, right? But if you don't run the race, then, a year passes by, you have to go before them again. So I went before them a second time, and then you get to waive a couple of times before you have to go before the full committee again. So I was already on the qualified list. That list now comprised 11 individuals. And, there was a lot of transparency with this because, again, even though I was on a qualified list, I was already qualified. Because of this, what I consider a historical moment, just to address the backlog in New York courts. Because of this historical moment now, um, other individuals were given opportunity to put in their applications. So it opened up. So once that opened up, now there were 11 attorneys on the list, and it got narrowed to 3. I became one of the 3 nominees. And notwithstanding that, you go through that process, even where you have a mayoral appointment, where
Hmm.
you have an uncontested race, you're still going to get vetted by your peers, right? So I received the final seal of approval from the city bar's judicial screening committee. So within the last 3 weeks, I had to put together another uniform judicial questionnaire. And these questionnaires, they delve deep. So, like for instance, I have to indicate the course, continuing legal education courses I've taken over the last 4 to 5 years, and with the county screening committee, they delve into your finances. So it's really, they take a deep dive to really assess the candidate, and they reach out to parties that have been involved with cases with you, parties that you appeared
Excellent.
before. So they go through that whole process. And now, once they go through that process, you go through a subcommittee of 2 people. Then, once the subcommittee interviews you, then they generate a report that they give to the full committee. And then you go before the full committee, and then the full committee now asks you questions. And so Friday, I think it was Friday, October 25th, the report came out, and I was approved.
Well, Friday, October 25th was just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, was it the 24th or the 22nd? But yeah, they wanted to make sure that they got it in before, right before early voting. Yeah. So
So wait,
every judge on the ballot, they want to vet. And again, even the mayor appoints judges, the mayoral appointments, they also get vetted by the, so it doesn't matter whether, it's uncontested, whether you're an appointment, they want to vet you, as they should, because that is what now, you could trust that the individual that has been, gone through a process, or that now is a nomination and is on the ballot, that they have the qualifications, the temperament, which is very, very important. Going back to what I said in terms of treating people with dignity and respect, those kind of things are so important in the courtroom.
so literally up until the day before early voting, when all of the candidates have already got
Yes.
their campaign together,
Hmm.
been out literally in the streets, designed all of this paraphernalia, gotten
Hmm.
the palm cards, sitting in people's places, attending,
Yes.
big events, and the day before they could actually be pulled off of out of the race.
Oh, not even pulled off. So what happened? So October 21st is when I went before the committee, and then October 25th is the report. Because they interviewed, all the candidates. So you're not pulled off the ballot. You're on the ballot, but then if you don't get an approval rating, that's going to create a challenge for you later on. That's going to create a challenge for you later on, and you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're really going to need to prove yourself, because you don't want when because you don't want a disapproved rating. You don't want to
So
be found not
straight.
qualified either.
Let me get this straight.
Hmm.
So there could be people on the ballot that people are actually voting for,
Hmm.
but at the time that they're on the ballot, because they were on the ballot really for weeks before, because that ballot had to be printed up,
Hmm.
their names on the ballot, and then they could sort of not be like past that last
Hmm.
stage of whatever, but they get chosen to be a judge, and then they have then what? So they
Hmm.
get voted for, but if they
Hmm.
weren't vetted properly,
Hmm.
what, we've elected somebody?
Well, it's not that they weren't so, because like I mentioned, even I could just talk in terms of the dynamic with me, and I could talk about the dynamic with the other two nominees, because there were three of us that got nominated as a result of this legislation. So I could speak about the three nominees. So the three nominees, we all went through the judicial screening process with the county. So we went through the screening process. We were found qualified. Then we were voted on by all the district leaders. So the district leaders had to take a vote, and we had to appear at a judicial forum. And we all went before the city bar's screening panel, and we were all found approved. So that I can speak to that in terms of, like, what another individual. So let's say someone was rated not approved. I don't know whether they went before the screening committee before then. They might have. They might, because that's another thing. Attorneys, they'll go before different committees, like even different associations will have you come before them, and then they'll give you a rating. But yeah, so, and then there's some people there on the ballot that don't just speak to what you're saying. I don't know about this race, but I know in the past, I've known of individuals who decided that they weren't going to go through a process. And even if you don't go through the city bar process, for instance, they'll say, okay, we invited this person to partake in our process, but they they did not appear, and they could find you. They could find you. They could give you a disapproval rating based on that.
Listen, this has been an entire education moment. I don't know if people who are watching, if you are, this is, of course, we know it's a lot, but I did not
Yeah,
know the level of complexity
yeah, no,
of
it's
the
involved.
rooms that you now have to be invited in and then get through, and the layers of questioning. This is, well, at the bottom line, you're on the ticket.
Yes.
You are still running. This is the same the week of early voting. So, when people see this, again, I wanted Sister Abayomi to be here on the digital couch in order to make sure that if you did not know who she was, this is who she is. She has passed all the layers of questioning. She has been in all the rooms and gotten all of the thumbs up, if you will, in order to make sure that she will do the best job as the best candidate for the Kings County Civil Court. I am thrilled again. I am honored. What is the last thing that you wanted to share with us that we should know as we make our decisions on who a good candidate is, what a good candidate will do, and how a good candidate will serve Kings County?
Well, first of all, please make sure you flip the ballot. I feel like judges make the most important decisions, and we're on the bottom of the list, but we make these decisions that impact daily life. So please flip the ballot, vote for the judge. You know, Abayomi Whint, vote for me. And I am someone who, again, I'm on the side of uplifting justice and ensuring that parties are treated with dignity and respect, which is very important. It's not lip service for me. As I mentioned, I'm a trained circle keeper. I'm a people person, you know, and just being out there, just in the community, interacting with people that just got their citizenship, voting for the first time. You know, someone approached me, they're like, "Oh yeah, oh I like what." Yesterday I went to, I was mentioning to you, I went to a diversity event and had on, you know, my African print, and someone said, "Oh yeah, I like your outfit," and then they turned to me, which is great that you know that people are so involved with civic duty. That she said to me, "Did you vote?" And I said, "Oh, funny you should ask. I'm on the ballot."
Look up my name when you get to the ballot.
Yes.
Look up the faces.
Yes, yes. And oh yeah, this is you know, it's a tremendous honor, and you know, I love serving, you know, when you talk about public service. So and you know, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to being part of the bench.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thanks for taking some time to come out onto the digital couch. We know that you have a lot of other places and spaces to be in to make sure that your name gets out there. And we pray that you'll be able to take this interview and to continue to share it with people so that more people, especially in Kings County, know who Abayomi Ajaiyeoba Whint is. She
Mhm.
is our candidate, one of the candidates, one of the seven
Mhm.
candidates of the for the Kings County
Mhm.
Civil Court. On
Thank
that
you.
note, folks and family, please let us know what you thought of this conversation. We will be having more conversations in the upcoming days and weeks. So please subscribe, make sure that you stay tuned. And if you have any interesting people, any inspiring leaders that you think that people should know about, not just know about them, but how they got to where they are, what their experiences are that will improve the life of someone else, please do not hesitate. Let me know who they are because I want to share them with the world. So thank you so much again, Sister
Thank you.
Abayami.
Thank you so much, Doriel. So proud of you.
I love you, and I have to
I
say
love
this
you,
for
sis.
the team. Camel love.
Yes, camel love.
If you know, you know. If you don't know what we're talking about, I'm sorry you weren't there. Blessings. I'll see you all on
Peace
the
and
next
blessing.
conversation. Have a good day, everyone. But again, let us know if this was interesting to you. Let us know if you're going to make the decision that's going to make the difference for people's lives, especially here in Kings County. Have a good day.